Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. This is class 9th, subject social science, portion history. So we are in the chapter number 4, that is history of Jammu and Kashmir from 1846 to 1947. So in yesterday's topic, we have already discussed how foundation of Jammu and Kashmir was led, and we also discussed in that very topic about Gulab Singh, how Gulab Singh was entitled as the title of Raja by Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the ruler of the Lahore Darbar, and we have already discussed some of the basic conditions of Treaty of Lahore that was signed in 9th of March 1846 between the Britishers and the Lahore Darbar. So we also came to know every treaty that it was the Lahore Darbar who had to pay a huge war indemnity to the Britishers after the Battle of Sobraon on 9th of March 1846. And in that very treaty, it was not possible for the Lahore Darbars, for the Lahore Darbar, for the rulers of the Lahore Darbar, in fact, to pay 1.5 crore as war indemnity, and in pretext of that, they had to transfer the perpetual sovereignty equivalent to 1.5 crore rupees. So it was some hill forts that were situated between the river Peace and Indus. So this Lahore Darbar had to transfer these territories to the Britishers. So in today's topic, we are going to discuss about Treaty of Amritsar. It's very much important when we discuss foundation of Jammu and Kashmir, because it was a treaty that led the foundation of Jammu and Kashmir, and it was a treaty which started the Dogra rule in Jammu and Kashmir after the rule of the Sikhs, that was the Lahore Darbar, was eradicated by the Dogras. So first of all, let me introduce you that this Treaty of Amritsar was signed at Amritsar, and on that very note it's called as Treaty of Amritsar. So the date on which this treaty was signed was 16th of March 1846, immediately after the Treaty of Lahore was signed. Number third, this Treaty of Amritsar was signed between the Britishers on one hand and the Maharaja Gulab Singh on other hand. So according to the terms and conditions of this treaty, so we had to understand what are the terms and the conditions of this treaty that was signed between these two groups. The British government transfers hilly territories, or we can say the mountainous country, east of river Indus and west of river Ravi. Those territories which were lying around east of river Indus and those hilly territories which were lying around west of river Ravi had to be transferred to Maharaja Gulab Singh by the Britishers. So that was the first condition of this treaty. And in return, Maharaja Gulab Singh had to pay rupees 75 lakhs to the Britishers. So that was the condition. That was the basic point. That was the basic clause of this Treaty of Amritsar, by which Maharaja Gulab Singh had to accept some territories, and in return he has to pay 75 lakh rupees to the Britishers. As you all know that we saw when Treaty of Lahore was signed, see there we saw after the death of the Ranjit Singh, Maharaja Gulab Singh was trying to fish in troubled waters. He was hating conspiracy towards the British. He was playing a double cross. On one hand, he was making secret alliance to the Britishers, and on another hand, he was eyeing towards the throne of Jammu and Kashmir. So, to somehow we can say that Maharaja Gulab Singh succeeded in his mission, and he received some mountains territories or hilly territories lying in the east of River Indus and west of River Ravi, and in consideration of transfer, he had to pay only 75 lakh of rupees. And after that, what happened, my dear students? Gulab Singh, as already he has received the title of Raja, but here, when he made a strong tie with the Britishers, he received another title, that's Maharaja. Now he was called as Maharaja Gulab Singh. In simple words, we can say now he became the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir after this Treaty of Amritsar was signed on 16th of March 1846. So after becoming the Maharaja of Gulab Singh, now here we can say that Dogra rule started, because Maharaja Gulab Singh was the Dogra. He was not the Sikh. He was among the Dogra dynasty. So we can say that after the Sikh dynasty was eradicated, was eliminated, Maharaja Gulab Singh started a new dynasty here in Jammu and Kashmir that was called as the Dogra rule or the Dogra dynasty. So Dogra dynasty started from 16th of March 1846. So immediately after becoming the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, Maharaja Gulab Singh immediately sent troops to Srinagar, but there was a Sikh governor named as Sheikh Imamuddin. He was not willing to surrender, he was not willing to admit to Gulab Singh's forces to the valley, and for that he had to offer a stiff resistance to the Dogra troops. But what happened there? After seeing the situation, Maharaja Gulab Singh immediately approached the Britishers for help to take the possession of Kashmir. When Sheikh Imamuddin heard about the help of the British to the Gulab Singh, he immediately fled away, and Maharaja Gulab Singh entered into the valley. So, after entering into the valley, Maharaja Gulab Singh entered Kashmir on November 9, 1846. So it was due to the help of the Britishers that Maharaja Gulab Singh was able to enter into the Kashmir Valley on 9 November 1846. So after that, Gilgit was also occupied by Maharaja Gulab Singh on 1855. Later on, he sent his son with his troops called as Maharaja Rambir Singh. He was the son of Maharaja Gulab Singh. He led several expeditions against the frontier tribes of the northwest. So as a result, we came to know that Dogra rule finally was established over Chilas, Purnia, Yasin, Daril, Hunza and Nagar. So these were some of the areas where Dogra rule was established by the end of the 1870. So but if we talk about the Jammu and Kashmir, the foundation of Jammu and Kashmir was led by Maharaja Gulab Singh on 16th of March 1846. So after that we can say that Dogra rule started here from 1846. So that was, my dear students, that was all about the second part of the foundation of Jammu and Kashmir. What we talked about yesterday's topic, we continue today. So we finished about the foundation of Jammu and Kashmir with the Treaty of Amritsar. So after that, in next very virtual classes which we are daily delivering, so in those very classes we will discuss some of the administrative measures of these Dogra rulers, what kind of changes they brought in the administration, what kind of changes they brought in land reforms, what kind of changes they brought in construction of roads, hospitals, education, etc. etc. So till then, goodbye.